Sixers fans, how we feeling out there? Hey y'all, my name is Lauren Gordon. Some of you may already know me on social media as Lauren Fan of the Year. Others may have just stumbled upon this podcast, but either way, I want to first thank all of you for tuning in to episode 9 of my very first podcast. I'm just a Sixers fan, the Lauren Fan of the Year story. Now let's continue the story. Y'all, after I met my GOAT, Allen Iverson, on February the 1st, 2014, I would share my photos on Facebook, and the response was incredible. People who really knew me, especially as a Sixers fan, knew how much meeting AI meant to me. Facebook is great because it connected me to people I hadn't seen or talked to in years. Childhood friends, old classmates, family near and far. It's great. I love Facebook. Even to this day, it is my number one choice for social media. Y'all, my high school friend and NBA nemesis, Chuck, he and I would connect after 25 years on Facebook. And the first thing he said to me was, "Oh my goodness, please tell me you are still not a Sixers fan." I told him, "Of course I am. Please tell me you are still not a Knicks fan." It was like we were back in high school all over again. He said he would be loyal to the Knicks to the day he died. Even though I thought of myself as a self-appointed Sixers ambassador, I knew I could never convert Chuck. However, as a super fan, I respected his loyalty. Y'all, the hardest part in this whole podcast thing is trying to keep everything in chronological order. So not just trying to keep track of the Sixers timeline, but also my personal life timeline at the same time. And y'all, at this age of 54, my memory is not as sharp as it used to be. What I forgot to mention was that I had met AI on February the 1st, 2014. And in January of 2014, David Stern, the NBA commissioner at the time, had retired after 30 years. And then after I met AI, also in February 2014, we traded LaVoy Allen and Evan Turner to the Indiana Pacers, and we would end the 2013-2014 regular season with a 19-63 record under Brett Brown in his first year as head coach. Michael Carter Williams, remember him, would win the 2014 Rookie of the Year award. But y'all, we still sucked. And that year, I remember buying a MCW and a Tony Roten jersey. Yes, y'all, I still have them on display in my Sixers room. Y'all, they are vintage. Y'all, during this time, my Sixers just weren't that good. And we were always going to be just mediocre in the Eastern Conference. Good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to make it out of the second round. This was around the time when Sam Hinkie was talking about tanking. Okay, he never used the word tanking, but we as Sixers fans, we knew what time it was. We would go into a rebuild, assemble players who were good players, but not good enough to win a lot of games, which meant we could increase our chances to improve our team by building through the lottery, getting high draft picks, and attaining assets. As Sixers fans, would Larry and I trust Sam Hinkie and his plan? Would we trust the process? Hell yeah. Y'all, what was the alternative? Larry told me, "Lauren, this would be the best time to buy season tickets. We're already going to a bunch of games to watch Kendall perform. We can get in now while prices are low, because if Hinkie's plan work, there'll be a few dark seasons as we tank, But through the lottery and draft picks, we'll improve and we'll be able to attract a star veteran player. And if all goes well, we have the potential of having not just one championship, but multiple championships in the next few years. We buy low now, and it will be a great return on investment later. So I picked up the phone, called my girl Katie, and said, I want information on being a season ticket holder. Larry and I were invited to the open house where we walked around the Wells Fargo Center and imagined watching the game from different seats. There was a tag on each available seat that had the section, the row, and the seat number. It also included the total season price and the monthly price. Larry and I knew we wanted to sit in the lower level, and we had an idea as to how much we were willing to spend per seat, and I was just trying to find the best seat at the highest end of our budget. I had selected 2 seats in the corner bowl near the opposing player's tunnel, but the seats were further back from the floor. Larry said, Lauren, what about these 2 seats? The seats were a lot closer to the court. They were aisle seats at the end of a row, and being that it was on the curve of the arena, we would have the extra leg room. We weren't directly behind the basket. It was located in that lower corner, and there was a walkway behind us, so we wouldn't have to worry about people directly behind us. The steps to the concourse was right there, and at the top of the concourse, the men's room was to the left, and the ladies' room was to the right. It was perfect. Our seats were right next to the visitors' bench, and this was great because even though our team sucked, when the other teams came to town, we got to see players like Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, James Harden, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, who were like the best players that year up close. We would also be able to see players like Kobe, Dame Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, all those guys up close. And it made it worth going to the games. We were season ticket holders again. Section 120, row 7, seats 9 and 10. It was perfect. For the 2014 NBA lottery, we would have 2 first-round picks, the 3rd and the 10th pick. It was a strong draft class. I personally wanted Andrew Wiggins, and I actually thought we were going to get him. Cleveland Cavaliers had the number 1 pick. The Milwaukee Bucks had the number 2 pick. And I had heard about the kid from Cameroon who played at Kansas, Joel Embiid, who was being compared to Hall of Famer Hakeem Olajuwon. But then, y'all, the news broke that x-rays revealed he had a foot fracture. I think it was the navicular bone. Y'all, I didn't know what a navicular bone was until that news came out. Well, anyway, I remember when the Cavs selected Andrew Wiggins, and I was devastated. Wiggins would later be part of a 3-team trade and end up with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And with the 3rd pick, our Philadelphia 76ers would select Joel Embiid, and y'all, I was so disappointed. Larry has a video of me moping in a chair, upset that we selected Joel Embiid. He kept saying, Lauren, it's a great pick. I'm happy. I'm excited about this move. Embiid is going to be a beast. You watch. But y'all, I could not understand why we would select a big man with a foot injury, and with our 10th pick, we selected Alfred Payton, but we would trade him to the Orlando Magic for Dario Saric, who was stashed away in freaking Croatia. I was like, so wait a minute. You mean to tell me we had 2 first-round picks and neither one of them will play for us? What sense does that make? And we have Nerlens Noel. Will Embiid be his backup? Larry reassured me that we wouldn't win a lot of games, but the Sixers would still be fun and exciting to watch. He told me to trust the process. Oh, man. Listen, I just want to win. That's all. To kick off the 2014-2015 season, I was invited to a season ticket holders social event at a brewery. I always enjoyed these events because there was always a nice food spread, a drink ticket or two, and Sixers giveaways. I brought my cousin with me, and we were taking pictures with the Sixers professional dancers. We were having a great time mingling with the other season ticket holders when a young lady walked up to me and introduced herself as Alex, my new rep. I could tell that she was very nervous, so I smiled and shook her hand. But I was confused, so I asked Alex, what happened to Katie? Alex would share that Katie had moved on, and I was sad that I never had the chance to say goodbye to her. I didn't want Alex to feel my disappointment, so I wished her luck in her new role, and I told her that I looked forward to working with her. A month later, I was invited to another season ticket holder event at Xfinity where we would meet the rookies. I remember as I came in the door, I was handed a Sixers pennant flag, a drink ticket, of course, and a photo ticket. I sat down at the table, and of course, I pulled out my cell phone. I'm snapping pictures of the event. And y'all, I loved getting the Sixers freebies and giveaways because it was something to add to my growing Sixers collection. A light buffet was provided, which made me happy because I'm a foodie. So I would grab my plate and I began socializing with the other season ticket holders at my table. The amazing and legendary Mark Zumoff was there, and he would be our MC for the night. Y'all, listen, I was excited to see Mark Zumoff because he was the Sixers television play-by-play announcer, and his iconic voice and Zooisms had reached the homes of Sixers fans everywhere. And he would go on stage and introduce Jeremy Grant, KJ McDaniel, Nerlens Noel, and Jakar Sampson. There was a round of applause as each player came out on the stage and took their seat on a stool. Well, I noticed an empty stool. Later, Joel Embiid would come out on stage wearing a boot. All of the fans gave him a hearty Philadelphia welcome as we jumped to our feet with thunderous applause, cheering on our newest Philadelphia 76er. We continued to clap and cheer as we watched Embiid join the other players on the stage. It would be my first time actually seeing Joel Embiid, and I was excited to see him and the other guys up close. Mark Zumoff did a Q&A with the players so that we could get to know them a little better. They all had great energy, and I was glad that they were part of our team. We were then told that our photo ticket that was handed to us as we entered the room allowed us to take one photo with one player on the stage. Y'all, honestly, I was torn between Nerlens Noel and Joel Embiid. I couldn't decide, but for some reason, I was drawn to Nerlens. So I got in his line and he signed my pennant flag. I told him that I was excited to meet him and I wished him well for the upcoming season. Nerlens reminded me of one of my cousins, like my family, and I told him that too. I was mindful that there were other people in line behind me, so I kept the conversation short. But now that I think about it, y'all, I always make the most of my time when I meet the players. Nerlens would end up being one of my favorite players. Now, y'all, he wasn't on Iverson's level, obviously, and probably not even Sedale Threatt's, but I just enjoyed watching his game. At this point, I obviously didn't know a lot about Embiid, especially with his foot injury. But I thought about the idea of him getting healthy, and I got excited at the thought of him and Nerlens playing on the floor together. Y'all, this is how my mind was working. Could Nerlens Noel and Joel Embiid lead us to a championship? In August 2014, we traded Thaddeus Young to the Minnesota Timberwolves. On November 15th, 2014, we would sign Robert Covington, Rocco, and now as season ticket holders, Larry and I would go to all of the home games. Kendall would perform as a Sixers junior dancer during the timeouts, and at halftime, she would throw t-shirts out to the crowd, and us dance moms would rotate each game to help the dance director get the girls lined up. We would make sure that their uniforms were straight, their hair was right, typical dance mom stuff. And we would make sure that we got them on and off the floor within a specified time. When you think about it, the dancers and entertainers cannot interfere with an NBA game that's in progress. When I was the dance mom, I was able to have access to the tunnels underneath the Wells Fargo Center. And when the girls ran out on the court, I would be able to watch their performance courtside. I would be just steps away from the players, not just our Sixers, but also the players from the opposing team. Y'all, the crowd was light and there were a lot of empty seats. We were definitely in tank mode because we were not winning games. Not many people cared about the Sixers. Out of the 4 major sports teams, we were at the bottom. Y'all, as season ticket holders, we were given free tickets and we could not give them away. Larry and I didn't care. We had brought into the process, and even though we were losing, the games were still competitive and fun. We were always outmatched, but our guys still played hard. During the games, we would get to know the other season ticket holders in our section. Susan and Dennis sat in the seats directly in front of us. And y'all, when we met up for the games, we would have our own party in addition to watching the game. And because we had extra tickets, our kids came to a lot of the games. We would have the whole row to ourselves. We could all spread out and be comfortable. The concourse was never crowded. There were never any lines at concession. I remember Kendall being able to just run around the concourse without bumping into anyone because there was only a handful of people at the games. I would get to know the ushers like Will, Mr. Eric, Mr. Eddie. I would later get to know Mr. Rick, and I would get to know the Aramark concession workers. I always prided myself on building connections with people. I don't care if you're Sam Hinkie, Allen Iverson, or the lady keeping the restrooms clean. I treat everyone with the same level of respect. I just love people, and over time, I would make a lot of friends around the Wells Fargo Center. In February 2015, we traded KJ McDaniels to the Houston Rockets for Isaiah Cannon. Cannonball, remember him? And Michael Carter-Williams was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Y'all, we would end the 2014-2015 season with a dismal 18-64 record. This would be rock bottom, right? There is no way, absolutely no way, that we could do worse than an 18-64 record, right?